So when it happens, and I'm doing a lot of stuff beforehand this time, more than usual. We're actually going to sing the chant before that. So after the chant, just go up there.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm better. I'm a lot better than I was yesterday. I couldn't move my head or my neck, and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to do anything. I thought I would be fine until I woke up and bring soda bread that I was gonna bring, and then I don't know if it was just like the kneading of the bread or my family this week.
My body just went in like,
Yeah. I also woke up in the night to a message from him that I used to think a few years ago. And I was like, contact me. And so that's a lot of stress too. And I was like, we're just gonna go. Just stay at home and I'll be here on Sunday. Thank you, Shire. That would be cool. I think that would be cool. I think scheduling is part of it. Because, yeah, that's what's been the hardest part for the crochet class for the so like, I ended up my scheduling the third Sunday. That's gonna go away eventually because we're gonna have something on there. I think it would be really good. Like that could be something that a lot of people are looking for. Especially with the everything. And like I feel like if anyone thinks like where do you go to find gigs? We go downtown to like South Bay. And it would be really good if we could have something out here. Yeah, I think it'd be good. Are you, what kind of like get together are you thinking? Are you like west side or opening up to the wider community?
Good morning, everyone. We'll do that again. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is awesome to see you. Happy solstice.
Happy solstice!
I am the Reverend Carol Boudreau. I am privileged to serve here as minister, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I want to welcome you all to this morning's celebration of the summer solstice. I want to make a special good morning and happy solstice welcome to those who are with us virtually. You are part of this community, even if you are not physically present with us in this room, and even if you are watching this service at some point in the future. You are part of this community as well, and we're glad you're here. So this is a place where we gather to build the community we all long for. And that is a community where you are welcomed, regardless of what pronouns you put next to your name or identity markers you put around your identity, including whether you think you're, a certain religious affiliation or a certain, let's just be bold and say a political affiliation. Everybody breathe. Breathe. breathe, we mean it when we say we're a community. This is a place where we strive to live the values of Unitarian Universalism by being of service to the world through being the best people we can possibly be. So there's a lot going on today. There's a lot going on in our world, and there's a lot going on in our community. So I want to say thank you to all the people who helped with last night's solstice celebration. We had a wonderful summer solstice celebration last evening, and that was the result of a lot of people doing a lot of good work. There's a lot of good work going on out there. We're going to do our justice and generosity. Look, we got the book club. This is a great book. I want to highlight this book, y'all. This is a great book, which Brad is going to go back to for me. Can you go back to Firekeeper's Daughter? He's trying. There we go. So Firekeeper's Daughter. So The Firekeeper's Daughter is a book that is set in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. And I read this book on the shore of Lake Superior and purchased the book from a close friend of the author. And it is a book about the Anishinaabe people, written about that culture and that community by someone from the community, but it's the best, like, murder mystery, super mystery you will ever read. Okay? So it's a great book. And there's lots of other stuff going on. We are connected to Family Promise, which is having their annual Pasta and Bluegrass Festival coming up that you can attend. Save the date. We are still in our, I love this. I'm going to just go through these with you. Work days this summer. If you want to help out with the grounds, Monday mornings. Where's Jerry? Jerry's wandering around doing the things he does, helping out around the building. You can come, if you are free, you can come and help out. We have a number of justice and generosity partners. Our current partner is Knox Pride. So we have a bin in the front of the building there that you can leave things for Knox Pride. They are currently, they're collecting food for the food pantry, but they're also currently in need of personal care supplies, razors, deodorant, toothpaste, that kind of stuff. And there are lots of announcements also in your order of service or on our website if you're with us virtually. Just a reminder that there will not be Earth Church next week because we had our solstice gathering yesterday. But next week at 2 o'clock on the 28th in the afternoon, Jan Coe will be leading. I'm betting Chris is going to help lead that, aren't you? We have a kirtan that we are hosting, another kirtan that Jan is doing. And I want to invite you to save some dates in your mind. Be on the lookout for the dates for our fall retreats. So in September, which is, I'm just going to say, the next turning of the Wheel of the Year. We're going to talk about the Wheel of the Year today. At the time of the fall equinox, we have our Spirit Quest camping retreat in the Smoky Mountains. So that is a camping retreat where we spend time on the land. We spend 3 days actually on the land camping and connecting with the earth and the river and the mountains. And we have our Sunday morning service in a little grove of trees at our campsite. And so there will be a limited number of camping spots, but you can always, if you're not a camper, you can always get a cabin in Townsend and hang out with us during the day. So keep your eyes out for that. And then in October, we will have our annual retreat for the whole church up at Rock Island State Park. And that's a cabin retreat, although there are campsites there too. So if you're interested in camping, you can do that. So keep your eyes open for those things. I know there's a lot more going on, but those are the highlights today. So I'm going to invite our bowl to sing. And as I invite our bowl to sing, I'm going to invite you to call to mind your happiest summer memory. So you have a minute to think about that while I go get the bowl, okay? Your happiest summer memory. So today's a little different, right? Look a little different. Some of you might not, some of you are new enough that you might not have been here for very many services in the round. But there's a reason we're gathering today in the round. We are gathering today at a pivotal moment in the turning of the wheel of the year. Now here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. You all are so used to it. You're all like trying to look at me. Let me give your necks a break right now. Feel free to look at the central altar or at each other or close your eyes. Because in circle communities, which are the kinds of communities that celebrate the turning of the year, it's not about one person being the voice of everything. Right? So we gather at a pivotal moment on the turning of the wheel of the year. Today, we say in the Western culture that the season is turning from spring to summer, but actually, this is the moment when summer is already headed towards fall. This is the summer solstice, the day when the sunlight is longest and the night is shortest. And tomorrow, that will change. And tomorrow, the day will be a little shorter and a little bit closer to fall, and a little bit shorter the next day and a little bit shorter the next day. In the earth-based traditions of human societies around the world throughout time, these are the kinds of things that mark the year. And today we're specifically going to be learning from traditions associated with the British Isles. So the name of this holiday in the revival Celtic traditions is called Litha, the summer solstice, Litha. And in those traditions, people mark 4 central days in the year, and then the points between. Come on in, it's all right. Come on. Yeah, I know, but that's not how circles work. She's like, I'm going to be incognito, but see how different it is? When you're in a circle, everybody counts when you're in the circle, but there's no shame and no shade, no matter when you show up. So in the traditions of earth-based peoples, the year is divided by the turning of the earth. So our culture, our Western culture, is mostly divided by a couple of things. It's divided by the Industrial Revolution's calendar of how things work. How many of us still think of the year in terms of the school year, even if we're not in school anymore? Right? Matter of fact, there are still churches, Unitarian Universalist churches, that the church year is the same as the school year. The minister gets the whole summer off. And I'm not asking for that. But I have colleagues who now have the next 3 months off. Because that's the year, that's the way the year works. So our calendar, our Western calendar, is based from the Industrial Revolution, when public schooling became a thing, and when we shifted from a society that was entirely agrarian to one that was more industrial. Our calendar, our brains got rewired to, well, summer starts when school gets out, right? Well, it's not actually the beginning of summer. Right? It's not technically the beginning of summer. We're technically sort of already in the middle of summer. So the way the Earth-based calendar works is that there are 4 central dates which everything else is scheduled around. And those central dates are based on the movements of the sun. So, the summer solstice, when the days are longest, the winter solstice, when the days are shortest, and the 2 equinoxes, when day and darkness match. Okay? And in between those, there are what we call cross quarters, the days halfway between those. Now, we've thrown a bunch of holidays on those days in Western culture, and this is the other influence that has shaped our calendar, which is the Christian church. So, Christmas, Yule, winter solstice, right? Easter, Ostara, spring equinox, right? Halloween or All Souls Day. Samhain, it's a cross quarter. So the year, that's the other thing that has influenced our schedules, is we have taken on the Christian holiday seasons to mark our turning of the year, right? How many of us are like, okay, and I acknowledge that it is a certain number of days till UT football also. Because I hear that in my house, 72 days until UT football starts. But if you're not here in Tennessee, we mark our calendars by these holidays. We think, oh, it's a certain amount of time until Halloween. It's a certain amount of time until Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever, right? So today we're honoring the traditions that are based on the turning of the earth. Litha is the summer solstice. And these holidays have a certain liturgical model that go with them. And me standing up there looking super important while you all stare up at me is not part of that model, right? In this model, and I invite you again to stop looking at me and look at each other for a minute. Look at each other for a minute. And if that makes you really uncomfortable, look at the center. In the traditions of earth-based peoples, the hierarchies are just not the same. If you imagine the circle as the central model for reality, not the line, but the circle, that's why we're sitting in a sort of a circle, a stretched out circle today, in a circle. Because the circle puts the focus on what matters in the center. In the center of our gathering today are representations of the seasons and the elements. So imagine, in your mind, imagine a compass. Imagine a compass. All right, does anybody know, if you're in this room, where east is? I know some of you know because of last night. Okay, where's east? I love it, people. It's that corner over there. That's the east. Okay? Which is why on our central table here we have representations of what is associated with the east. East is the place of spring and air. Right? It's the place of the beginnings. Because why? The sun rises in the east. So we think of it as the place of beginnings. So we have representations of air, feathers here. South is this way. South is the place of fire, summer, heat. So that's where we have the candle for fire. The west is the place of water. Think about what happens in the west every day. The sun sets. It represents the time of life and the time of year when things are getting quieter, darker. So we have beginnings, middles, fading. And in the north, it's the earth. Think about, when you think of the north, what do you think of? Cold, winter. I don't want to live in the far north because it gets really wintry there, right? So the traditional Celtic representations of the world and of reality are circles. And in that circle, each of the elements is represented, each of the seasons is represented, and each of the stages of life are represented. Each of those is represented. So today, the circle is our central model. Each time the seasons turn, they're not headed for somewhere. They're headed back to somewhere. And that's how we're going to think about things today. So today we honor the circle, and we honor the wheel of the year turning and turning and turning and turning. So I'm going to invite the choir to go to your places where we're going to complete the circle when we sing today. Yeah, that's a good idea. So the words are going to be up there. You can all turn if you want to. We're going to sing every season. This is a cyclical thing, but see how this is, it's pretty simple. You can join us if you want. Every time the season turns, we sing the same song, but a different verse. And this is the verse for summer. Thanks, choir. So in the traditions where the wheel of the year is the guiding image for the cycles and seasons of our human journey, the summer solstice is very much associated with the sun and with light. So today, the words for our chalice lighting come from Reverend Robert Weston's Summer Meditation. Now blows the wind with soft, relaxing warmth. The sun beats down, schools are out. Children swarm in the playgrounds and the streets, and eager city folk, vacation-bound, crowd the broad highways. The lakes and seashores lose their solitude, and all the world seems turned to a carnival. What of ourselves? There could be now deep peace. A time for soul searching. We might turn to examine our own lives, to sort and probe our tendencies of thought, to sift the true from the false and things of doubt, the beautiful from the ugly. The sun beats down. It is a time to pause. Even the trees seem resting for a time, as if to meditate and gather strength for the more strenuous time that lies ahead. Shall we not do this? Here's an unfinished clay, half molded, that waits on me. To think what we have been and who we are and still have yet to become. And today we light our candles of joy and celebration as well. So I want to invite us to just remember, as we light our candle of concern today, for all the places that are at war. Yet another round of attempted supposed peace talks for Iran. Yet more trouble in Lebanon, Israel, Gaza, Ukraine, and all the many, many other places that we don't hear about as much in the news. There is a lot of strife. We have a long history of strife in our world. So the celebratory candle that Jen is lighting for us this morning is a story of revival and recovery from a previous era of war. So on NPR this morning, I heard a story about the Santa Fe Indian School. So how many of you are familiar with the boarding school movement, right? We're familiar with the boarding schools. The boarding schools were places where churches and the government established essentially cultural assimilation boot camps for children from native North American cultures during the time of the earliest couple hundred years of conquest here, especially during the 19th century. And Unitarian Universalists, we had our own boarding school. We actually were the sponsors of a boarding school, which were designed to eradicate native cultures and identities. So here's a story of success, persistence, and revival. The Santa Fe Indian School, formerly a government boarding school, is now completely run by the tribes in the area, is completely tribally controlled, and is doing exactly the opposite of what it was built to do. They now teach 11 languages, 11 native languages. Children go there from around the United States. I heard an interview with a young girl from Ohio who had moved there to go to school because she said, in my own school where my parents live, I'm the only native kid, but here everybody's a native kid and we can speak all the languages. So, and some of the people leading the school said, this is a place where we can learn our cultures, teach our cultures, live our cultures, embody our cultures with no government control. It's a private institution. So that's something to celebrate. And it's also a model for all of us to keep in mind. Right? And we're gonna light one more candle. Jen, would you light the fire candle on our altar there, please? For Father's Day. To say Happy Father's Day to anyone who's ever done anything that remotely resembles fathering, which is probably everybody in the room. Some of you have spent a lot more time doing those kinds of tasks, but this is a day to honor the act of fathering, providing a positive role model in what some traditions would call the masculine mode to young people. We are grateful for all the ways that that is done in our world and in our community. So this morning in spiritual practices, someone said, well, wait a minute. I'm confused because I hear that this is also the day that fall is starting. I don't remember exactly how you said it, Bill, but you asked the question about, like, it's when we're going away from summer, not towards summer. Isn't that interesting? It actually is that. The summer solstice, which is the longest day and the shortest night of the year, is actually the beginning of autumn. And that can seem a little strange because we associate this time of year with the beginning of summer. Now, Chris was our geophysicist earth person in spiritual practices this morning and explained that part of the reason that's true is because of the heating of the oceans, right? So it is actually getting hotter because the oceans are heating up and that breeze blows across and heats us up, right? But today we're going to think about things metaphorically, okay? Which is really the nature of most religious traditions, if you think about it. And the earth-based traditions are no different. The cycle of the year is an excellent model for us thinking about the cycles in our lives. So we associate this time of year with the beginning of summer, and now it's going to get really hot, and there's going to be a lot going on, and you might have travel planned. It's a very busy, active time of the year. And also, in the way of circles, this will end. It's not going to be that long before UT football is starting and the days are cooling down. Something that is not yet here, that we can't yet see or feel, is already being born in this very moment. through the hottest days of summer, through the struggle and the sweating and the air conditioner breaking and the wishing you could stay outside longer, but it's too hot. Already, even as we're focused on that experience, something else is coming towards us. It seems to me, we tend to think of our lives in lines, don't we? Think about it. How many of you think about your life sort of as a line? Well, first you go to school, and then you graduate from school, and then when you graduate from high school, then maybe you go to college, and then you graduate from college, and then you get a job, and then you get a job, and then maybe you have a family, and then when you're done with the family, you see my point? You retire, and right? It's this line, and it's going somewhere, right? And that is the way the modern industrial world has taught us to think about our lives. I started here, I went there, now I'm going there, and we evaluate our progress, our success, based on sort of lines and goals. We think of things as past, present, and future, as if progress is stretching indefinitely into infinity, but that is not the way all people in all time, or even many people now, think about reality. Many people, matter of fact, actually most people through most of human history, have thought of our journey as a circle, or more accurately, as a spiral. So think about that for a minute. What if it's a spiral? We go from those cycles of birth to maturing and waning and death over and over and over again. Childhood begins and peaks and ends as young adult life begins. Young adult life arrives, usually to great celebration and cheer, and then peaks and fades into maturity and middle age. And middle age arrives with a kind of quieter celebration, but hopefully with some celebration, and it peaks and fades and ends as we move into elderhood. All right, think about your life that way for a minute. How would it change us if we weren't constantly evaluating ourselves against the linear model of getting things done? How many of us in this room have measured ourselves as not making the mark, of not having achieved the thing, right? Try this version of a circle. We start a project. We see it through to some point or other, and then it ends, maybe with a big bang celebration, yay, or maybe it just kind of fades out. But what immediately happens when that project, when that idea, when that thing you thought you were going to do, when that passes away? Do you never have another project ever again arise in your mind? Of course not. So think about the ways that we actually function in these spirals and cycles. We can see maybe how our lives might be imagined as little tiny lines that are segments of bigger spiraling patterns. You have to pan back a little bit. We spend a lot of our time focused very much in this little section. How many of you remember high school geometry? What is a circle made out of? Lots of arcs, which are lots of little lines and points, right? So we spend so much time focused right on the little line part we're in that we often don't step back far enough to say, well, what's the bigger circle? What's the bigger pattern? So put yourself in that framework for a minute. Imagine the circle or the spiral. What's the difference between a circle or a spiral? Anybody ever said, why am I repeating this again? Anybody ever have you ever asked yourself that question? This feels familiar. Why am I doing this again? Why have I repeated this relationship pattern, or this job pattern, or this same argument with my friend, or what? Those are the spirals. Every time we circle back to that moment, maybe we're just a little bit wiser, Maybe we know just a little bit more. Maybe our circumstances have changed. So the circle would imply that we're doing it exactly the same every time, but it's not. The spiral is, oh, I'm back in the same neighborhood, but it's just a little bit different this time. So every year, Litha comes around. Every year, the beginning of summer comes. How many of us have all sorts of projects we're going to do in the summer? Anybody ever had that? I'm going to get this done, and I'm going to get that done, and this time my garden's going to look like this by the end of June, and I will get all the weeds pulled, and oh yeah, and I'm going to do that weird canning project this summer, right? How many of us start the summer with the idea of a project that we're going to do, and then it plays out? So, the earth-based traditions teach us to use the metaphorical wheel of the year to help us stay balanced, to help us think about those plans and projects. And they remind us that even as summer's going to get hotter, things are also going to fade. So I'm going to give you a little bit of historical background. Litha, the word, is an Old English word. It is not an Old English holiday. We know that people celebrated this time of year centuries ago. And we know that that word existed centuries ago, but it was in the 20th century that somebody assigned it to the summer solstice as a holiday, okay? The word Litha comes from the writings of the 8th century monk Bede in his work De Temporum Ratione, which is the reckoning of time. Okay? And according to him, the Anglo-Saxons referred to this time of year as Litha, which what they were just saying is June, July-ish. June or July-ish. Now, what does the word mean? What can we learn from the word? It means gentle or navigable. The name referred to this season as the time when it was safe and easy to travel by sea. You're all like, and why do we care? And why do we care? Well, think about it for a minute. What do we think of as summer being the time when we can do? You can go adventuring in the summer. You're probably not going to try to take a long road trip in mid-February, especially if you're going north, right? It's harder to travel when the weather's bad. Right? So we think of this as the time of year when we can go adventuring. It's also the time when we can get out and about. It's the time when even in those older cultures, people could gather from long distances in larger communities, right? So how many people have their family reunions in the summer? Right? So it's a time when we think, okay, this is the time when we can go to Disney World, or the family can get a cabin at the beach. Right? And that is not new. It's a time that we generally associate with being pretty outgoing and more active. So, what does that mean in the journey of the wheel of the year? There are cycles in our lives, in our psyches. Times when we have energy, and times when we are enthusiastic, and times when we want to start a project, and the project had a beginning, and then the project will have a natural growth cycle, and then a decline. So right now, we're in the season of growth and energy and outgoing. How many of you, I know, how many of you have trips planned in the next 2 months? We're all going somewhere, right? Right? So those outward motions also reflect inward motions. So let's take a little moment to ask ourselves, how do you respond to summer? Are you a person who likes to be out and about and make gardening plans and do things? Or are you a person who's overwhelmed by the intensity of the heat and just wants to sit in your air conditioning? It's a time of intensity and heat and action and motion. Some of us love that, and some of us do not. Some of us look forward to that, and that can be true in the rest of the year. Are you a person who prefers the cool, dark of winter? Would you consider yourself more of a winter solstice kind of person or a summer solstice kind of person? You know, the summer is a time when there's an abundance. On the farm, there is both an abundance of produce and an abundance of weeds, right? There's an abundance of energy and daylight and time. There's an abundance sometimes of overwhelm. Anybody ever been on a vacation where you thought it was going to be restful and it turned out not so much because of all the things you had to do to manage the vacation? So how can thinking of the circle help us manage the energy of summer and intensity? How many of us feel upset when we don't accomplish all the things we were so enthusiastic about getting done? Anybody ever felt upset about that, where you're like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I've got so much energy, and I'm going to do it? Anybody ever get burned out? You burned, that's a summer thing, right? Maybe it happens in February for you. Maybe it happens at another time of year for you. But the idea of the circle says an idea, a stage of life, a moment in your world has an inception, an intensity, a passion, a growth, a excitement, and enthusiasm, and then it has a fading. And then it has a decline, and then it has a death, and then the cycle starts all over again. Many of us, at moments like this, are very enthusiastic and have a lot of energy about all the things that are possible, all the things we could get done. And then we discover how hot it is in our actual garden. Right? We're like, yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then we're out there for 10 minutes and we're like, never mind. Forget it. I'm going inside. Because the truth of the matter is the intensity of the summer actually makes us slow down. If we are, let's just imagine for a minute you don't have your air conditioning. Jen's like, no, absolutely not. But imagine that. Imagine a society without all the interventions we engage in to make it seem like it's the same season 365 days a year. Because that is what we do, actually, right? Isn't that the point of air conditioning and heaters and electric lighting and refrigerators and freezers? All of those things are designed to make us think it's the same season every day. The sun, doesn't matter when the sun rises or sets because I've got my lights. Doesn't matter whether there's produce in the garden or the garden is under snow because I've got my refrigerator. It doesn't matter. Now imagine life, which is we were evolved not with refrigerators and air conditioners or electric lights. Imagine life without those things. Imagine living in the cycles of the turning of the year in nature. Summer is a time when you might travel, but certainly here where we live, it is not a time where you would be moving fast between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. This is what siestas were made for, right? That's the whole point. So, what if we just allowed ourselves to think that way for a minute? How would thinking about the metaphor of the circle, the turning of the wheel of the year, what if you thought about things that way? How would it change the way you act? How would it change the ways you think about what you should or shouldn't do in different seasons? How would it change the way you think about right now, today? How many people went to Lavender Fest? How was it?
Busy.
Huge. Busy. Great. You say great if you're a people who likes the big, huge, loud, busy, right? Anybody else completely avoid Lavender Fest because of the big, huge, loud, busy? Right? This is the season of festivals and events, right? Anybody ever feel guilty because you didn't participate in one of those big, loud things where you feel like some shade or shame on you because, like, well, everybody's supposed to do that, right? We have a lot of cultural messages about how we are supposed to behave in different seasons. And yet, just allow yourself for a minute to contemplate, actually, this cycle of the year invites us to slow the heck down. To move outdoors, maybe, but maybe not so exuberantly because it's hot. To not burn ourselves out. So we're going to sing another song, which invites us to think about the summer as having balance. As having different things happening in it. And yes, there will be lyrics for y'all to read. But it talks about the summer rain and the coolness and the evenings and the nights in the summer, not just the heat of the sun. So choir is going to act like a circle again. And you all can sing with us or you can just listen. And we're going to sing this song about the balance of summer. So thanks, choir. So, cool evenings, rain. Just for a minute, if you're willing, humor me, close your eyes. Or look at the altar, or look at the floor, or stare into space, whatever makes you happy. And think back to that summer memory. The one that you were thinking about when we invited the bowl to sound. What do you love about this memory? What quality of summer is it? Because in each moment of a circle is the entire circle. And each moment of each season is the seed of the next season. That's the way cycles and spirals work. What is it that you love? Is it the heat or cool? Is it active or restful? Is it big and loud, or is it small and quiet? Maybe there's a little bit of spring or summer or fall or winter right there in the middle of your memory. And ask yourself this before you open your eyes. If you were going to think about this summer season, these 2 or 3 months ahead of us, in the way that would give you the most peace and joy and balance and well-being, what would you be focusing on? Would you be focusing on being active and outward? Because that's part of the summer season. Or would you be focusing on that seed of autumn, which is already on its way? What for you is in this metaphor of the circle, of the cycle, of the spiral, of the turning, that could bring to your summer a greater sense of well-being and authenticity? And just maybe for a moment, imagine something that you might do as an action or a choice, a way of being that would support that. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes and return to this room. Today we welcome summer. We welcome the heat and the fire of the long days. We welcome the loud, exuberant celebrations of the season. We welcome the sun, and we also welcome the night, the cool rest of a summer evening. We welcome the sounds of the birds that sing at night and the creatures that are active. We welcome the insects, including the mosquitoes. I know. Yes, we do. We welcome the mosquitoes and the flies and the wasps, because they're all part of the circle. We say in Unitarian Universalism, we have this image of the interdependent web of life. That's one of our versions of the circle. All of it is welcome. All of it is included. Welcome to farmers markets and state fairs, to camping trips and vacations, and welcome to the days that are growing shorter, to the rains that come. Welcome to the way that winter is inevitable, just around the corner. Welcome to 70 more days till UT football, right? Literally, that was this morning's conversation at home. I think it's only 70 more days, right? Always turning, always moving, always going somewhere else. How does a person find a center in the middle of all that? We are used to being the one driving the straight line of our life forward to some hypothetical successful end, right? We are used to being the one driving down the line towards something. Here's our last metaphor or image for the day. What if you're the hub in the center of the wheel of your life? What if you stand in the center of the cycles of the turning of your life, and you witness all of them, knowing that they are turning and spiraling and spinning, knowing that the next thing is coming, and you remember the last time it was here, and you learned something, and you're going to see it again, and it's going to come and go, and then something else is going to come and go. During this season, when we're celebrating the peak of summer, let us take the opportunity to be part of a circle rather than a line. Look around the room. The circle matters more than anything. The circle is stronger than the individual segments in the line. So this is the part where we're going to sing together. Sandra's ready. She's at the piano. Our closing today, we're going to sing standing up in a circle. Feel free to join hands, but you do not have to. You can hold your own hands. It is fine. Hold your own hands if you want to. So this song, the words are, go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere you go. So many of us know it. We're all going to learn it. We're going to be singing it a lot. But here's the catch. This isn't a performance. Okay? This is actually a blessing on the circle. It's an opportunity to look around the circle and actually wish this to people, all right? So be bold, be brave, you can do it. You can actually look in people's eyes and wish them this. Go for it, Sandra. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Wherever you are in your cycle, in your life right now, it is good, because it will turn to the next cycle. No matter where you are in your day or your week or your journey, this wheel is always turning towards something you not yet imagined. So go knowing that that is true, that the celebration can carry you to the next cycle. And if you are in a place of struggle, the celebration is just around the corner. So go in peace, passion, joy, rest, whatever it is that brings you joy today, and happy solstice, everyone.